pedal to the metal, go, go, go!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome along for the final time to the PSGL Esports Cup event. We are here tonight for round 10 of the championship as we take in the Jeddah Corniche circuit for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. How weird is that to say? Good evening, everyone. My name is James Hay. Going to be taking to the stream, as always, on a Friday night here on PSGL. And joining me in the commentary box, he is back after a week's layoff. It is, of course, Mr. Aidan Carter. Aidan, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Shame to miss, unfortunately, last round and to miss VSR clinching the championship last time out. But unfortunately, my trip to Ireland that was meant to be happening today has been cancelled because of COVID. So I'm back in the commentary booth, which is nice to see. And yeah, going to be an interesting one to round off. Like you say, the Saudi Arabian GP is a bit of a weird name to say, isn't it, in the current climate? But it's going to be a great race. This track online, at least. Does provide very good racing. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, I think you'll have more experience than me in the commentary box, I think, coming into tonight. I have not commentated around here whatsoever, so it's a bit of a fact-finding mission. But what we can say, of course, it is normal short qualifying, 25 laps awaiting the guys, of course, out on track at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Reminder of the top three, by the way, coming into tonight, of course. Duncan won last time out, Modesto was second, and Leo in third. And, of course, as you mentioned, VSR did wrap up the Constructors' standings last week, and I can run you through the standings, actually. VSR in first on 391 points. They've already clinched it, but the big battle on tonight is the battle for second between the Italian outfit of Outplayed Racing on 299 points, and FVR, the Spanish outfit, in third on 296 points. Only 3 points separating coming into tonight. Then a big chasm of a gap to the best of the rest battle, we could call it, in fourth. WR Esports in fourth on 188. TF10 in fifth on 178. Team Mentalism in sixth on 172. IFR in seventh on 166. And TTG in eighth on 165. That's all embroiled in one battle, so they can still outscore each other for fourth position. Shazoo in ninth on 146. And ET8 in 10th on 116. VSL, though, Aidan, of course, have already wrapped up the championship, but the big battle on is that battle for second between OP and FVR with only 3 points in it.
Yeah, like I say, only 3 points in it. It's incredibly close. It almost couldn't be closer going into the final round for those two teams. And both teams have had very, very strong championships for very, very different reasons, haven't they? OP came out the gates absolutely flying, and they've been, you've got to say, probably the kings of the alternate strategy in this championship. They've maybe not been the best in quali, but they've always risen to the top in the races, whereas FVR started off the championship pretty slowly, had a horrible showing in Baku, and then since then have just gone from strength to strength, and now are consummate podium sitters at pretty much every single round they go to. So, yeah, interesting to see who's going to come out on top. I think I would say, personally, the momentum seems to be with FVR at the moment. OP, in terms of raw speed, maybe lacking a little bit in comparison to them, but I mean, we're at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, anything can happen, so you can't write off either of these two for finishing in second.
Yeah, anything can indeed happen, of course. Looking through the drivers' lineup as well before we get going, of course, in towards qualifying. FVR represented by their original two, Modesto and Isma. TTG represented by Michi and Valentin. Outplayed Racing represented by Yukita and Dino. I think it's Dino's first race, actually, this season, if I'm not mistaken. So he is obviously driver two there for OP. IFL represented by Tom Robbo and Jensen. Very good team lineup, I think, for IFL. Watch out for them. Romanino was due to go for Team Mentalism. It is a Rocker and Nathan for Team Mentalism, the traditional pairing. Jordan and Eust for VSR. Corne and Ogiano. Corne, I think, is out. Kazizel is in for Corne. Danerko replaces TF10 Leo. You know what happened with him, of course, after last week's race in the USA. And TF10 Yamaba and Danerko are the team for TF10. ET8 are represented by Pandre and Davakin, and WR represented by Gil and Baraka. Looking through that drivers lineup quickly before we get, of course, in towards qualifying, Aidan, anybody strike you out as having a very strong lineup? I think certainly IFR, Tom Robbo and Jensen, probably their most consistent lineup all season.
Yeah, got to say so. I think they're finishing off the season strong, aren't they, with their drivers? They've definitely got two of their best drivers into the lobby for tonight, which is absolutely fair play to them. So, yeah, we're great to see what they can do for them. Of course, they're in that really, really tight locked battle at the moment, aren't they, for fourth in the championship? So anything can happen for them. And you've got to say that for IFR, for a team that maybe in size and in comparison to some of the other teams racing are quite a bit smaller, you would say, or quite a bit less well known than some of these other teams, they've really outperformed themselves. So the fact that they've brought their best lineup, I would say, to the last race is a strong one for them. And I'd keep an eye on Team Mentalism as well. They've been another team that's maybe flown under the radar, but still got solid results. And we know Aroka's fairly new to this championship as well, but when he's come in, he's raced and he's done pretty well. So I would say IFR and Team Mentalism are the ones to look out for.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously, we don't know what is going to happen. Certainly, I don't know what's going to happen here in Saudi Arabia. My first time commentating around here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. If you're wondering what the Jeddah Corniche circuit looks like, it's a bit like a fish, if I can really describe it that way. 50 laps normally, 25 laps, of course, for our guys in a 50% race. 6.1 kilometres in circuit, the second longest track on the F1 calendar, barring Spa, and a race distance of around 154 kilometres that the guys are going to be taking. Lap record around here, 130.7 held by Lewis Hamilton, of course, this year for the inaugural Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But we are now about to go in towards qualifying. And I think one given, of course, we're in Saudi Arabia, we are in the desert, it's probably going to be dry.
Yeah, very likely it's going to be dry. One weird thing about this track as well, we are on official timing, but unlike in real life, this isn't usually the case, but in this game at least, it is a somewhat sunny qualifying session. It's towards the end of the day, so there is a bit of sunset, but it is still in the day, and then the race is at night, so that's going to be something a little bit difficult for them to adjust to, maybe. The track conditions might be a little bit different in qualifying than they might be in the race, and yeah, like you say, it's going to be dry. If it's raining, then I think Christmas has come early, or pigs are going to start flying. It's going to be bizarre if it does start raining. And you referred to this track as a fish. I'm going to refer to it as a butter knife. To me, it looks a bit more like a butter knife.
Butter knife fish, I think we can take it. Make up your own mind in the comment section, I think, in terms of that. Looking now, we have got all 20 drivers in, so all teams represented by their two drivers, and of course. And I had a really good look in, of course. If you didn't catch Monday's race in PSGL F1, you would have saw the Brazilian Grand Prix, and you would have saw actually me and Mark ItsAlimonda taking you through the action. A majority of these guys actually raced in that race, used especially, and I know Jordan was in there as well, Kazissel and the likes were further down in PSGL's tiers. And one thing we've got to talk about, obviously, Aiden, these guys have really committed themselves in PSGL so far this season, and I think it's been fantastic to see, obviously on a team level and on an individual level, the utterly brilliant driving standards and the utterly brilliant high standards of driving that each of these guys deliver week in, week out.
Yeah, we've had a really, really good field of drivers all the way through the season, like you say. It's been really, really strong. Races have been entertaining no matter where we've gone to, and they've not been entertaining because they've been carnage. They've been entertaining because they've been good racing, which is something that I would say at least on F1 2021 is hard to come by, it seems, at this point. So, yeah, they've done a really, really good job this whole season. I don't expect anything different tonight, despite the track being as difficult as it is to drive. So, yeah, really, really well done to these teams as well. And especially as well, we've got to keep a mention on TF10 and ET8, new to the championship as well. ET8 missing the first 2 rounds, TF10 missing the first 3 rounds. And they've come in, and they've both done a very, very solid job considering the situation they were in. So, yeah, all around, this whole championship's been really, really strong.
Yeah, it's been really strong, and I think it's a really good showing as well, not only for PSGL, as we've already mentioned, but for the teams as well, for the esports scene that is going up, of course. I know quite a few of these guys have come through turns 21 and 22, as Gil already nearly invalidates in terms of track limit. He is about to start us off on this lap, but the level of high standard driving comes across in the teams, and every individual, I think, that has raced so far this season has been absolutely brilliant, and I think, honestly, credit where credit's due. If there's an early Christmas present coming their way, then obviously it's going to be probably here tonight in Saudi Arabia. We go on board then with Gil, now for WR, running towards the line to start the first out of 27 corners that this track actually withholds, and now running down into towards turn 1 and turn 2. Of course, where Verstappen and Hamilton had a little bit of a collision there in real life. Now coming through turn 3, and then on the run towards turns 4 and 5, and I have to literally follow as we go along, to be honest. So you through the left-hander of 4, then through the right-hander of 5, getting very close to the wall, and now through the snake section, coming through 6, 7, 8, then through the right-hander of turn 9. Good bit of overcorrection there from Gil, but towards the end of the first sector, not looking too bad at all from Gil's perspective. And we'll see his first sector, 30.3. I think I can make that out at the bottom underneath the wheel. Through turn 12, of course, the DRS zone is actually there in the game, but in real life, of course, it is through this section on the track, this next section, coming through towards turns 21 and 22. But Gil now coming through, and I have to literally follow as we go along, coming through turn 19, now through turn 20, and then in towards turn 21, and then in towards the right-hander of turn 22, oh, the left-hander of turn 22 that is coming up. So count it along as you go, and now through 23, running the curve very nicely indeed there, Gil. Of course, these track limits are very, I would say, easy on the eye, I think, for the guys to try and not invalidate their lap time. But Gil now on a lap, coming through 26. This is the easiest part of the track. I know what this corner is. Coming through the final corner at 27. And now running toward the line is WR Gil on board with this lap. And it's going to be around a 126, 127, I think, to begin us off. And it's a 126.9 to start off the night.
Yeah, pretty solid lap from Gil there, 26.9, I would say. Probably the mid-26s is where I'd expect the pole position time to be, and Tom Robbo's gone 1,000th of a second faster, so 27 turns, can't separate the two drivers, which is bizarre to see. They've just both been beaten by VSR Jordan, who's gone just over a 10th of a second faster, and yeah, like you said, track limits around this track are a little bit weird, aren't they? It's actually the painted curves that we have around this track are actually painted inside the track limits rather than outside, like you would usually see at every other circuit, so it's a little bit deceiving. You may see people running over those curves and you may think they're invalidated, but they are within the wider track limits of the circuit, so it is a little bit easier for some of these guys to get away with it. We've already seen as well, by the way, while you're on board with Gil, we've had a couple of people go off in the first sector. Most importantly, Valentin was on a lap. He spun quite big time through turns 8 and 9, but he managed to keep the car going and keep it out of the wall, so he's back into the pit lane on what I would assume are some very, very cooked soft compound tyres.
Yeah, you'd like to imagine so. Modesto goes 6th, 127 flat. You couldn't get any better than that in terms of your timing, but Modesto goes 6th for FBR. Of course, they're embroiled in a battle for second position along with OP. Their best driver currently is Dino in 7th position, 1100th of a second off, 27.011, and that 1100th of a second could be the gap, of course, between FBR and OP in terms of that battle for second coming into tonight as well. Yoda no out on top, Houston second, Oggiano in third. Very good lap, I've got to say, for Moggiano, and looking at the lap time so far, top 7 are only separated by less than 0.2 of a second. This is the fastest street circuit in the world. This is the fastest street circuit that's ever been in Formula 1 as well, as Jensen now goes to the top with a 2-lap run on a 26.8. So Jensen goes quickest for IFR, but this lap can be taken 84%, I think, full throttle, which is a bit like, to be honest, the Temple of Speed in Italy.
Yeah, it's really, really high speed. This track, the 27 corners, and it being the second longest track on the calendar, are actually quite deceiving, aren't they? Because this is a lap time more akin to somewhere like Silverstone, which is much shorter in distance. So, yeah, a lot of these corners are easily flat out. That's the thing. The 27 corner name is quite deceiving. A rocker there having a massive moment coming out of turn number 27, but just about getting away with it as he crosses the line and only goes P10. But yeah, of the 27 corners, you've got to say at least 13 of them are corners you don't really think about. A lot of the majority of the main corners of this track happen in the first sector, and by the time you're out of the first sector, it's almost flat out from turn 13 all the way to the line with just 2 braking zones in between the 2 sections of the track. So, and that's from the most northerly part of the circuit all the way to the most southerly part of the circuit. So, yeah, it's deceiving, isn't it, the amount of corners and how fast it is.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal, I think, how much speed they can actually gain. Nearly 200 mile an hour, I think, these guys, of course, were reaching in real life. Gieler's back out on that lap. I can see Tom Robert back out there on that lap. I think everyone has done their first runs. So it's 7 minutes gone pretty much in the session. Ismail on top, Jensen second, Jordan in third. And as we mentioned, I think I said top 7 was separated by less than 0.2 of a second. Looking at the top 11, it is now 2.5 tenths separating, or just over 3 tenths in fact, separating the top 11, which is unbelievable in terms of the standards of driving as we've already had so far this season in the PSGL Esports Cup event. But Ismail now out on top, Jensen second, Jordan in third. How crucial is that for Ismail to get an early lap in? Ahead of Jensen for IFR, ahead of both OP drivers. One of them hasn't set a lap time yet in Nikita, but Isma looking like he's got the pace so far. But crucially, both Jensen and Isma were on their second run, their second fast run, on that set of soft compound tyres. So obviously the track will evolve as we go along.
Yeah, we'll evolve as we go along. It's obviously not ideal for them in their fight at the front of the field for the start of the race, but at least the good thing for them is that around this track, the wear in the soft compact tyres isn't actually that big because, like I mentioned, a lot of the corners are barely corners, so you're not actually putting a lot of strain through the tyre in the second half of the lap, so it's fairly easy for the tyre to rest around this circuit. So 2 laps on a set of softs is not the end of the world for these drivers like it is somewhere else, so I think they'll be happy enough with that at least. And yeah, just a word, like you say, the 3/10 gap at the moment covering the top 11 is crazy, isn't it? Incredibly close, and I imagine it's going to get even closer once we see more drivers like the 2 TTG drivers putting their laps.
Deal just overextended coming through turn 5, through 6 and 7, and now through 8 and 9, and then through the left hand of turn on the run towards turns 11 and 12. I really hope you are keeping up with these laps, by the way. Gil had 10th up through the end of the first sector, and he has actually backed off his lap, yeah. I think he has, yeah. So Gil clearly not happy with that first sector. He was still a 10th up in that first sector, but clearly he's backed off this lap, and he could be giving actually Baraka a bit of tow, but Baraka actually isn't on the lap, and I think the next one's actually going a lap, if I'm not mistaken, it's Tom Robbo as he comes around the final corner. I think Pandre's just started up on a lap as well, but with halfway gone through qualifying, Ismail on top, Jensen second, Jordan third, and now the drivers preparing up for their second runs.
Yeah, and that's kind of a little bit bizarre from Gil that he's backed off, unless he's maybe backing off, just burning the fuel, and then going to go again on his second lap on that set of tyres, maybe, but the fact that he was a 10th up in the first sector and backed out of it was a little bit weird, I've got to say. I mean, around a track like this, you can't guarantee that you're going to improve every time you do a lap. That was a big moment, I think, for Tom Robbo. He's really going for it. I think he's just invalidated there. He has. He's backed off as well.
He has. I was actually on board with Pandre, and Pandre actually got caught on the curb just coming through turn 9 and 10, and where you come through the end of the first sector, he almost nearly went off speeding off towards the wall. He's 2 tenths up though through this first sector, now coming through towards the end of the middle sector. The end of the middle sector, I think, is after turn 22, if I'm not mistaken. This is literally just a newbie's beginner's commentary. I think it's 3 tenths up from Pandre coming through in towards 22, and then through the right hander of 23, and now we come down the straight, and there is Devakin actually giving him a little bit of a run, and I think that was well timed in terms of trying to pick up a limited ERS run, and now Pandre on the run in towards the final couple of corners. Of course, we saw drama with Verstappen and Hamilton in real life. He's just about at the start of the lap, just ahead of him, and Pandre clips the wall on the right-hand side, slightly over-rotated the car in towards it, but now Pandre on the run to the line. What lap time is this? He goes 13th, 127.5. That improved him 6 tenths of a second in the end.
Yeah, 6 tenths of a second. It was a good improvement in the end, but that tow, I think, was mistimed. I think Dovahkiin wanted to go a bit earlier than that and give Pandre a tow down towards 27, and then Pandre could return the favour in towards turn 1. In the end, Dovahkiin's the only one that ended up getting a tow down towards turn 1, so we'll see whether Dovahkiin can benefit from that in this first sector. I mean, it's great to see these cars through the first sector, isn't it? They're so committed through the first part of this lap, and as I was saying about Dovahkiin having a good first sector, he hit the wall on the inside of turn number 9, and that's his lap time invalidated as Modesto goes to the top at 26.4. Wow, that's a stunning lap time from FER Modesto to go 3 tenths of a second clear of his teammate at the top of the timesheets. That's going to take some proper beating. And Baraka, the first driver to crash in the session then, he's dropped it through turn number 8, and he is out of the session.
Unfortunately for him, yeah, Gil down in 9th position, now down into 10th, because Oggy Arnold's just gone quicker. Youth, by the way, is 3 tenths up, coming through the end of the middle sector as well. But unfortunately for Baraka, the Spaniard is out of the session. He was pushing the limits quite a lot, and that's why we saw Pandre go off, coming through turn 8 and 9, nearly over-rotated into the wall, and Pandre obviously still improved on his lap. Baraka caught out by the track, the first one, maybe the first of many towards the end of the session as well, as they push for their laps. Youth, however, could go quickest here as he now runs towards the line for the VSR team. As he now runs to the line, is he quicker than Modesto? No, goes second, 26.5. Good lap from him. Dino, by the way, went 4th in that as well. So the OP man looking quick. Isma has backed off. Jensen is coming through sector 3. He's also backed off. Jordan, however, was 4 tenths up on his lap. I think he invalidated his last lap, and I think actually he might be not on a run this time around. Denerko certainly isn't. Tom Robbo isn't. He's invalidated. Anybody else on the lap? I think Rocker's coming to the line.
Yeah, Rocker's just come to the line. He's gone P9. I was actually just riding on board there with Joe Marber for TF10, and he got a lovely tow off of Valentin. I don't think that was Valentin's intention in the end, but he did end up giving a tow to his rival there. Interesting to see. Yakita's still not set a lap time. He's invalidated all 3 laps he's gone for in this session, so he's not off the bottom of the boards yet. And neither of the TTG drivers. They're really struggling. The TTG drivers, Michi, are 30.7 in the first sector, is nearly 7 tenths slower than Modesto in the first part of the lap alone. That is a big loss in the first sector, and Valentin's just invalidated as well. It would have been a 30.1, but he invalidated through turn 10. So, yeah, the two TTG drivers are not having a good day of it so far.
Yeah, Hadlow, I think, is coming in toward the pit lane, if I'm not mistaken. No, he's taking a very short run toward the line. He does get a lap time in, 28.3. Mitchie, in fact, not Hadlow. Goodness me, Mitchie, 28.3. Valentin there in 19th position as well for TTG. So TTG just up against it, to be honest, here tonight so far. Modesto, though, out on top. Youth there in second. Ogiano in third. It's the real guys that we've seen towards the top end of the field being there quite consistently once again, and with less than 5 minutes to go in the session, obviously a majority of the drivers in the pit lane. What would you rather do though at this point, Aiden? I know you've driven around the track before. Would you rather go 2 runs at the end of qualifying and then maximise your effort to try and get a lap time in, or do you just go for the 1?
If it was me personally, I'd just go for the 1. I wouldn't want to overheat my tyres or stress them in any way. I would go out at the last possible moment to get the best of the track conditions. But I think some of these drivers are thinking different, especially Jensen, who's just, again, on his second lap improved and gone P4, but not enough to get him back onto the top of the timesheets like it was a little bit earlier on. A lot of these drivers as well are doing, well, good tow techniques. We just saw the 2 Mentalism cars giving each other a tow down towards turn 27, and Nathan did get a good tow, but unfortunately made a mistake at turn 22, so couldn't get really the final sector that he would have wanted. You've got to say as well, at the moment, the pack is very much split in half, isn't it? We've got, well, almost split in half. We've got everyone down to 12th is fairly close to one another, even Baraka, who is out of the session. But beyond Baraka, from Nathan down, all of those drivers really seem to be struggling to find a rhythm around here.
They are, and I think that's just the nature of the track as well, especially if it's their first time actually racing around here. Obviously, we're going to see drivers begin to evolve as the session goes on, as well as the track, so they will inevitably end up improving in terms of their lap time. Pandre and Kazizel and Nikita all on out laps at the stage, and Jordan and Gil now coming out the pit lane as well. By the way, I just want to throw a shout out. I know he's probably here, and he's probably listening to this. Ayub Khan from TRT, apparently he's got an Esports Cup watch party going on that he's just linked into the PSGL Discord. So welcome along to our viewers on Twitch if you are tuning in as well. Modesto out on top though, Youth in second, Ogiano in third, Jensen in fourth, less than 4 minutes to go now in the session. But Modesto, Youth, these have all got to try and lie up to their form so far. They've got to try and get the lap times in. But we've seen it so far this season, Aiden. Obviously, consistent lap times, you've got to be on the ball. Will these guys improve towards the top end of the field?
Yeah, you've got to say so, haven't you? I mean, we're looking to these VSI drivers. They are the kings, really, aren't they, of stealing pole from the hearts of people at the very end of the session by a country mile. They've done it all season long, so I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again. I'm just looking to people like Dino and Ogiano as well. Maybe haven't had the best of runs this season in terms of their individual performances, but they're right up there this time around as well. And I say that about Ogiano, but it seems to me, isn't it, that Shazoo down in 9th, which is utterly bizarre to me in the team standings that Shazoo was so far down, because it seems like they featured at the front of the field quite a lot this season. But I think Ogiano has been the one kind of flying the flag for Shazoo this season. He's always been at the front whenever he's turned up, but never been able to get the actual result out of it. So I think he'll be at the final round of the season really, really trying to get something on the board at least for Shazoo. So I'm looking to him. I think he might be the one that could steal it right at the very end.
Yeah, possibly so. I mean, he's only, 400th of a second off Modesto's time, and it's not a bad position to be in whatsoever, because this will start up on a lap. Yakita is also on a lap now, coming through the middle sector. Oh, he cuts the wall, coming out through turn... What corner was that? It was coming through. It's so hard to try and keep up around this track. Yakita, though, I know where he's coming now, in towards turns 22 and 23, and now through the end of the middle sector was still looking quite quick. So the OP man really going to put it on the line. His teammate there, Dino, in 5th position, 26.6. So Yakita really going to try and put it on the line here for the Italian outfit. They've got to try and out-qualify, of course, their title rivals in terms of FER. FER currently 1st and 6th. It's going to be quite difficult, but Yakita now on the run to the line. He's looking quite quick on this lap time as now Yakita runs towards the line and he goes 7th, so he goes behind Isman. But again, OP need, to be honest, a slice of luck on this final runs to try and get anywhere near Modesto, certainly who's on pole.
Yeah, you've got to say so, and that the end of the lap there for Yakita was a little bit messy, unfortunately, wasn't it? He hit the wall a couple of times, especially out of 27. He gave it a good old whack doing his best Max Verstappen impersonation, but yeah, not the best qualifying. It's kind of been the rule of thumb really for them this season is they have a bad qualifying and then they recover in the race pretty well. We just see Dino invalidating in the first sector as he passes the stricken car of Dovahkiin through turn number 5. So yeah, not the best situation unfortunately for OP. Isma meanwhile is getting a brilliant tow from Modesto down towards the line. Jordan's gone on to provisional pole position now by 7 thousandths of a second. Isma's just working his way through the traffic at the moment, getting up towards the line. A lovely tow. I think this could put him at the front near his teammate. Can he get onto provisional pole? He can, with a brilliant tow in that final sector. That tow got him 0.2 of a second. That is easily so far the best tow we've seen from any of the teammates so far in FER, in qualifying at least, have a major advantage over OP now.
Yeah, completely agree. It's a bit like a car park now coming through turns 1 and 2 there. Oh, it's actually Nathan has just gone into Tom Robbo. I'm not sure if that. I saw that, and I think that might have been on purpose, if I'm not mistaken. So Nathan, 27.3, down in 14. Obviously, I just caught on board with that quite late, but I did see that fully. Tom Robbo there in 6th position, 26.5. Not sure if there's any source of bad blood on their lap times, but what I've just seen there, quite ridiculous, to be honest, and they know better.
Yeah, they do know better. I mean, we have track maps and things like that, don't we, for a reason, but yeah, really, really bizarre to see that happen, unfortunately, and yeah, I don't know what on earth that was, or whether it was on purpose, or whether Nathan unfortunately just lost the car and went into the side of Tom Robbo. It will be interesting to see what comes of it, but that's just kind of the nature of this circuit, isn't it? It is just a bit of a roller coaster in the first sector, and if you make a mistake, there's going to be, well, 6 or 7 cars around you that you can run into, as Gil now goes to the top of the timesheets. That's a lovely lap from Gil to put him at the very top, and I think Modesto, by the way, I think I was on board with him. He was, I think, heavily distracted by all of that mess between Nathan and Tom Robbo, and invalidated in the first sector, so his qualifying session seems to be over and done with.
Here comes Jensen to the line, and Jensen nearly takes it. He goes second, 26.4. I think that's the final lap of everyone. Modesto has backed off. He invalidated, as you said. Tom Robbo, obviously, with that little bit of an incident with Nathan, has backed off his lap as well. That is the end of qualifying. Gil out on top. Who would have thought the WR man would be out on top in qualifying? I certainly didn't. Jensen there in second. Isma in third. I've got to be honest, Aiden, a bit of a throw up for the Bucks.
Definitely, he was 12th before he set that time. He was kind of nowhere and out of our eyesight, really, wasn't he? He had a good first run, and then he backed off his second run. I think backing off his second run actually worked in his favour in the end, because that was a stunning final run from him to steal pole position at the very end. Jensen as well, right up there for IFR, which is good to see, and that's good for, well, WR to try and keep 4th, and IFR's battle to try and get up into the top 5. So yeah, brilliant stuff there, and how close between Jensen and Isma, 1,000th of a second separating those two from being second and third position. So, bit of a mixed-up grid as per from usual. FDR and VSR right up there once again, but WR and IFR on the front row. That's not what we're used to seeing.
I think it could have helped, by the way, with Jensen. What he lacked in was a tow. Tom Robbo was not anywhere near him out on track. So I think if IFR conducted that in a way, I think Jensen possibly could have been on pole position with the help of a tow. But we saw with Gil, that 26.3 pole position. Jensen there in second, Isma in third. We reached towards the end of the session. I think we're just waiting on Isma, if I'm not mistaken, to retire. I really hope the lobby is not glitched. But Gil out on top, Jensen second, Isma in third. As we wait for Isma to retire, now he finally has done. So Isma has now retired, and we'll run you through the full grid order in just a second. Lovely looking Alfa Romeo pick route, by the way, there, I've got to say. Nice and adorable, I think. But Gil out on top, Jensen in second, Isma there in third. 300ths of a second, covering the top 3. Very good in terms of close qualifying. Jordan in 4th, Modesto in 5th, Houston in 6th. Their battle will be won, of course, in terms of VSR. But FBR out-qualifying both OP drivers, which is quite crucial. Ogiano there in 7th, Tom Robbo there in 8th, Dino there in 9th, 3/10 of a second covering the top 9, Arocca there in 10th, Yukita in 11th, Danerko in 12th, Baraka 13th, Nathan 14th, top 13 covered by less than 7/10 per second, Nathan there in 14th, Yamaba, Michi, Pandre, Davakin, Kazizel ran off the top 19, Valentin for TTG did not get a lap time in. But Gil out on top though, Jensen in second, Isma in third. I really hope we go in towards the next part of qualifying, from qualifying in towards the formation lap. Otherwise, we might have to have a lobby restart at this stage.
We'll have to wait and see, won't we? I think Dino just did rejoin the lobby, unfortunately, at the very end of the session, which may be the problem for the lobby. We'll wait and see. But, yeah, brilliant qualifying in the end. And you say 300s covering the top 3. Less than 2/10 cover the top 8 around a track with 27 corners on it and the second longest on the calendar. That is a really, really close qualifying session in the end. It was very, very competitive, and that nature of what I said of the pack kind of being split in half did come true in the end. The top 12, the top 13 were all very close together, and then 14th down really, really struggled in that session, especially Kazizel and Valentin not getting competitive times on the board at all.
Yeah, completely agree with that. And obviously, what we saw with Nathan and Tombo, we can't really say as much as what we saw on stream. But what I will say is that will definitely be looked at the stewards, and I'm sure there might be a penalty coming the way of either driver. We'll have to wait and see if anything happened, of course, on their previous lap times before that. But what I think I'm going to do, we are still stuck on this lobby, so we might have to have a lobby restart. What we will do, though, is whet your appetite a little bit further. Let us have a look at the track introduction, of course, for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit. Welcome back, everyone, to PSGL Esports Cup event. We are here, of course, for round 10, the final round of the championship, as we take in the Jeddah Corniche circuit for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Of course, my name is James Head. Aidan Carter joining me alongside in the commentary box, underneath what will be a bright night-like sky, around a 6.1 kilometre circuit, 3.8 mile, 27 turns, the fastest street circuit in history of Formula 1, 3 DRS zones, one down and towards turn 12, one down the start-finish straight, and one down and towards turn 27 as well. Very much like a fish-shaped track, butter knife, as Aidan mentioned earlier on. Selected tyre compounds for tonight are the C4, C3 and C2 compound tyre. Those are the softs, mediums and the hards. And you would imagine, Aidan, obviously, in terms of that softs, mediums and hard strategy, while everyone, I think we're going to be restarting the lobby, while we do that, everyone, of course, in terms of their strategy, is going to be on a fresh strategy, because it seems like, obviously, we're going to be restarting the lobby and everyone will get their fresh compound of tyre. But, of course, top 10 will have to qualify on that will have to stay on that set of softs.
Yeah, they will have to stay on that set of softs, like you say. They'll at least be fresh for them, which is one good thing, at least, that they can continue on with that and not have to worry about them maybe being 1 or 2 laps older than they might have wanted to. But, yeah, they're still locked into that compound, and those outside the top 10 too get that free choice. But we'll probably touch on it quite a lot, but the tyre strategies around this track is quite interesting. I think the alternate strategy around this circuit isn't actually as powerful as you would expect it to be. I think it is actually quite similar between the two. So, yeah, going to be interesting to see, but I think track position around this track could be pretty crucial.
Track position definitely going to be very crucial. That short run down in towards turn 1, we saw nothing short of drama in terms of what happened actually out on track in real life. What we expect, though, of course, hopefully, is a very clean race. Given how tight this track actually is, it's going to be so interesting to see, of course, how all of these guys get on. While we get, of course, the stream obviously back up and running. Obviously, the stream is still live, but we will get the lobby back up and running very soon indeed. And looking at some of the comments that are coming through, Evan saying, let's hope Casper doesn't return this week. Yes, Casper the Ghost, otherwise known as Tom Robbo from last week. He was unghosted in terms of the action out on track, and unfortunately that name caught on, it seems, in terms of the comment section. But hopefully everyone is going to be doing well. Of course, let us know who you're supporting in the comment section. Of course, I'll be reading them out now as we get that lobby restarted, of course. But Aidan, obviously, coming into tonight, it's a brand new circuit for these drivers. I would imagine a majority of them have not raced here before. How do the drivers approach this? Obviously, now with a lobby restart, how do they approach this from a mental side and obviously from a physical side out on track?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? It's interesting to see how these guys are going to have to approach this race. I think one thing, it's kind of weird for this race, really, what they can do, because while it is obviously going to be a race of attrition, it's a street circuit. Pretty much every street circuit is, and it's difficult to keep the car on the road. This race goes by very, very quickly. It's only 25 laps, and we've already seen from qualifying that the lap times here are actually quite fast. So this race does fly by very, very quickly. So if these guys are going to want to try and make moves, they've got to get them done as quickly as they can. It's not easy to overtake here. It's going to be difficult to pull away from a DRS queue as well. So it's really a case of trying to balance between the risk and the reward here. So, yeah, we'll wait and see what these guys can do with that.
Yeah, as race control, by the way, says in terms of the what you're seeing on the stream, the session will be restarted. I'm sure Aidan, of course, our lobby host in this case, is probably getting that lobby upset right now. FVR, however, coming into the comment section saying nerves are high. Come on, the boys. Of course, FVR fighting out for second in terms of that championship standings, and I'm sure we'll be able to get them up and remind you of what those championship standings actually are coming into tonight. Of course, VSR have already won at 390 odd points that they are on. Looking through the rest of the field, I'm just getting this up, by the way, on my iPad, so that's why I'm trying to delay it as much as possible. But in terms of the timing tower, Outplayed Racing in second at 299, only 3 points behind at FVR in third. We had a discussion earlier on, obviously, about this battle for second and third. OP have been out-qualified by FVR, though, in terms of the qualifying session, Aidan. And FVR have really got to try and maximise that to their advantage. They've got track position over their rivals. How do OP try and come back, obviously, with their nearest rivals, out-qualifying them?
It's going to be difficult for them. They've got to have a good start. They've got to keep out of trouble. I think keeping out of trouble on the first lap here is going to be very, very difficult. So before anything, they've got to make sure they do that. And then beyond that, they've got to be aggressive. They've always been good in races. They always benefit from safety cars. They're good on the alternate strategy. So, yeah, they've really got to be aggressive in this race. They've got to try and march their way forwards and hope that FVR either stay stagnant where they are or fall backwards. Otherwise, for them, it's going to be just kind of a sit and wait to lose second place in this race, so in this championship. So, yeah, going to be interested to see what they can do. But, yeah, I think we're going to see an aggressive drive tonight from OP to try and get further forwards.
You'd like to imagine, so I think it could be something like Imola a few rounds ago, where OP, of course, were pretty much outdoing FVR for the entirety of the race, and then FVR, obviously, with their strategy, came back into play. So OP have got to recognise that, obviously, the advantage is there with them, but they've got to try and approach it in a different mindset, I think, to FVR, how, of course, they approach that. Looking through the rest of the standings as well, while we've got a little bit of a time, of course, we've still got a big old battle for fourth as well. WR Esports in fourth on 188 points, obviously now buoyed by the confidence of Gil going on pole. TF10 in fifth on 178, of course, they're missing TF10 Leo. I dare not repeat what, of course, happened last week. You all saw it, of course, on social media, especially on Twitter. But pretty much 5 teams covered, 33 points. And obviously, in terms of the point system around here in the PSGL Esports Cup event, all teams from 4th down to 8th are still in a mathematical chance of still getting P4.
Yeah, they're all still very, very close, even after 10 races, and especially to TF10. They're still right up there, considering they've missed the first 3 rounds. So you've got to say for TF10, if they hadn't missed the first 3 rounds, they would be right up there in that battle for second, probably. But yeah, really, really close. Saudi Arabia, as we've mentioned already multiple times, that could spring up a surprise. And WR have got off to the best start by getting pole position, haven't they? So they've gotten themselves the advantage going into the race, at least. So that's all they can do at this point. They've now just got to hope that the race goes their way.
Yeah, definitely so. Zeno, by the way, in the comment section said if there isn't 40 laps of safety car, it isn't realistic. Unfortunately, there's only 25 laps worth of racing here in a 50% race. So unfortunately, I think now that has been dumbfounded somewhat by Zeno in the comment section. But of course, we did have drama around here in terms of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in real life. Whether or not we get that drama, of course, remains to be seen. But Zeno there in the comment section saying safety car, it isn't realistic. This is Formula One. Anything can happen. Of course, I don't want to spark a big old debate about what happened on Sunday because, honestly, we all have our own opinions, but I think we can all recognise that both drivers, Verstappen and Hamilton, drove their absolute socks off, both of their cars. Red Bull, so consistent. Mercedes, so consistent. And from an outsider looking in, F1, I think, has really shined. No matter how farcical that end of the race was in Abu Dhabi, I think we can all recognise that the integrity of the sport is so much more important than, obviously, beef on social media or anything like that. And I'm sure whatever your opinion is, I respect it no matter what. And obviously, we've got to look forward to 2022 with, obviously, new regulations and everything.
Yeah, going to be exciting, the new regulations. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all plays out and how each team does with the new regulations. They're a massive change. So it's going to be almost a completely different sport next season. That's going to be great to see. And yeah, I agree, even though it was, very interesting what happened in the last 2 Grand Prix, especially what happened in Jeddah as well. Well, that was interesting, to say the least. I think it was still a great season, full of drama, full of twists and turns as well. So, yeah, can't wait to see what happens next season. And hopefully, fingers crossed, today's race isn't much like what happened in Jeddah in real life, because otherwise I think the results of this race probably won't get decided until about 2 weeks' time with all the stewards' reports we could get.
Quite possibly so, and obviously the stewards reports will be looked into. I know I saw George Morgan and I think it was Ginger Andy commentate around here in WOR, if I'm not mistaken. And that was on the PC side. And they had, I think, 5 drivers separated by about 5/10 of a second coming across the line on the final lap of the race. I saw One Hub as well, obviously do race around here. Some of these guys might be familiar with the track already. So these guys might have prior knowledge of how the Jeddah Corniche circuit actually is and in terms of what strategy. Me, being a newbie, of course, to this track, I don't know what is going to happen, which is quite exciting. It adds a little bit of tension now to what the drivers are going to be feeling. Looking, though, at some of the comments that are still coming through, Elting saying that the lobby will be underway in around 2 minutes' time. We're only waiting on 3 drivers to come up. But while I've got everyone's attention, of course, we have got a very special event within the F1 community coming up tomorrow night. Myself and Luke Etheridge are going to be on commentary for it. Aidan, you're going to be on commentary for it. I know Tom is going to be racing it as well. Our graphics man here in the PSGL Esports Cup event is the 24 hours of F1. And please support it. We are doing it, of course, for Young Minds and Special Effect, 2 great charities, I've got to say, in terms of how everything is going to be happening. I know Eustace going to be racing, Jordan going to be racing. I know there's quite a few drivers that are going to be racing from, obviously, tonight's lobby and indeed from PSGL. Come along, of course. It is going to be all live from 1 o'clock tomorrow UK time, if I'm not mistaken. And Aidan, you, I think, have got the privilege of actually racing in the first race.
I do, yes, and the first race, of course, is Jeddah, so that's going to be fun, isn't it? Yeah, no, I'm doing this track, and despite it maybe being a little bit difficult to actually race here, I think the track is nice to drive. I think a lot of people think that this track, thought that this track going into it was going to be really, really difficult and not that fun to drive, but actually, in the end, it's been kind of the opposite. It's actually been kind of more well received than I think a lot of people expected. So, yeah, it'll be nice to see how it turns out, and yeah, the 24-hour event is such a special event, isn't it? It brings the community together when the community is usually quite truncated, to say the least. So, yeah, I'm really excited for it. I hope that it goes really, really well, and yeah, can't wait to see a lot of familiar faces there.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm obviously going to be a familiar face in the commentary box, unfortunately for people. I'm doing Austria and the Netherlands on Saturday night, and I can obviously exclusively reveal that I'm going to be commentating alongside F1 Esports royalty. No, before you ask, it is not Jarno Opmeer. It is Mr. Matthias van Erven, who picked up P6, of course, last night in the F1 Esports Pro Championship. So I'm really looking forward. And unfortunately for Matthias, I actually commentated on his first ever race. This is how old I actually am. I commentated on his first ever race in F1 2018. That's how old I am.
Blimey. I don't want to talk about my age then. I'm going to keep that to myself and not tell anybody.
We are about to get going, though, which I can say. We are just obviously trying to stall the time a bit further. We are about to get going, of course. Qualifying now off. It is a full 25-lap race. Safety cars, the whole lot, I think, of course, is going to be coming into play. But let us have a look once again, for anybody that has just tuned into the stream, at the track introduction for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Welcome back, everyone, to the PSGL Esports Cup event. Again, round 10 of the championship for the Jeddah Corniche circuit for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. My name is James Head. Aidan Carter, of course, joining me alongside in the commentary box in a beautiful night-lit sky here in Jeddah. 6.1 kilometres in circuit, 3.8 miles in length, 27 turns, 3 DRS zones, 1 down the start-finish straight, 1 down towards turn 22 and 1 down towards turn 12 as well. Quite a flat track as well. It looks like a fish, it looks like a butter knife, as we already discussed earlier on in the session. But selected tyre compounds for tonight, the C4, C3 and the C2 compound of tyre, the softs, mediums and the hards. And of course, we saw in qualifying, the top 10 qualifying on that set of soft compound of tyres. Everyone will have a fresher strategy, of course, coming into tonight. But regardless to say, strategy could be quite simple around here.
Yeah, I think it could be quite simple. Like you say, it's a relatively easy soft-medium strategy around this track. So I think you will be very surprised if we see anybody in the hard compound tyre here. And we know the hard compound tyre is at its worst at high speed. So I imagine we're not going to see a lot of that. And I imagine that the people starting outside the top 10 will probably do something alternate and start on the mediums, maybe hope for a late safety car. And I mean, we've touched on safety cars already. They can be very, very common here. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple tonight as well. So yeah, strategy-wise, the tyre compounds will be easy. As to when people pit and how people react to certain things happening in the race could be a completely different kettle of fish.
Completely different kettle of fish indeed. 25 laps are awaiting these guys out on track. The formation lap now beginning lap 10 to 13, it says on the AWS graphic to the in the middle of the screen there that popped off. On for a set of hard compounded tyre, which could be quite interesting, but it looks like nobody is going to be going for a set of hard compounded tyre around here. The top 10, of course, qualified on that set of soft compounded tyre. Everyone else on a 50-50 ratio is on a set of medium compounded tyre. How much a very boring bunch we have here in the PSGL Esports Cup event. But further down the field, I'm looking to the likes of Yakita, the likes of Baraka, who I know are quite quick further down the field, because Zizzle there down in P19 will obviously be quite quick. Who do you think further down the field, Aiden, on that sort of medium compounded tyre, can try and react the quickest in terms of the opening laps?
It's got to be Yakita, hasn't it? He's been so strong all season on that alternate strategy, as have his teammates been, so looking to him to move forwards. Dinerco as well could be one to move forwards for TF10. I think TF10, compared to how they've been all season, are a little bit out of position, so they'll be wanting something to happen in their favour so that they can move forward in the championship. And Kazizzle as well. Kazizzle massively out of position for the speed we know he has, so, and it's not like he's a bad driver on street circuit, because he had a good performance in Singapore earlier in the season, so yeah, he's a little bit out of position compared to his teammates, so I think those three are the ones to look out for: Yakita, Dinerco, and Kazizzle.
I've totally forgot, by the way, to actually write up and remind everyone about the constructor standing just getting on. I'll read them out nonetheless as we get towards the end of the lap. Of course, VSR already wrapping up the championship on 391 points. That was my mistake, by the way, Tom. Outplayed Racing in second on 299. FBR in third on 296. And again, the battle for second, I think, is the one that everyone is going to be focusing on. We see to the left-hand side, Isma and Modesto, third and fifth position on a sort of soft compounded tyre, out-qualifying, of course, OP. But they've got Yakita on that set of medium compounded tyre, which splits the strategy in half for the OP boys.
Yeah, splits it in half, like you're saying, they can cover all their bases. So if the alternate strategy is the faster one, they can benefit from that. If there's a late safety car, they can benefit from that as well, which is good for them. But I think FVR, they're still in the stronger position. They're higher up on the grid. It's going to be a difficult first lap. That's just the nature of this circuit. So they're kind of less in harm's way at the start of this race, so they'll just be hoping for a clean first lap, and then they can just kind of hopefully cruise to the finish for them ahead of the Red Bull cars.
Yeah, definitely so, and hopefully this is going to be, fingers crossed, race of the season, perhaps, in the PSGL Esports Cup event. Let's wait and find out. 25 laps awaiting the guys out on track. There is Giel's view from P1. There is Jensen's view from P2. And now, hopefully, the revving engines are going to be coming on, and the 5 red lights come on here for the final time for the PSGL Esports Cup event. Drive-through penalty already for Tom Robbo, and it's lights out and away we go, and Giel gets a very good start. Jensen a little bit slow off the line, and now Isma's going to try and loop around the outside and towards turn 1. He actually does. Now around the outside of Jensen and towards turn 2, gets the move done. So the FER man is through, and he's into second. VSR making positions early on. Jordan and Yusuf the fourth and fifth. Modesto into sixth. OP have already made up positions as well. But now coming through the end of the first sector, Giel leads the way. Isma in second, Jensen in third, Jordan in fourth. Modesto and Ogiano going side by side, coming through 6 and 7. And Modesto is through, and he's into sixth position. Holds off Ogiano for now. There is a spinner further down the field. The backing, I think, has gone into the wall. Hopefully no damage on the car. But at the end of the first sector, Giel leads the way. Isma in second, Jensen in third. Pretty much all fair in love and war in the first opening lap.
Yeah, that was far cleaner than I was expecting it to be. It's been a disaster, though, for ETA. Panju's dropping down the field. Novikin has no front wing. Mitchy's broken his front wing as well, I believe. So, bit of a messy start further down the field. And what a disastrous start that was for IFR. Jensen's already under pressure now from the VSR guys. They are flying at the moment. And Tom Robbo, jumping the start before the first red light had even come on, it seemed like. That was so early for him to jump the start. And that's his race pretty much over and done with already. He needs a late safety car to bring him back into contention. And like I said, Jensen mugged around the outside by Isma at the first corner. That was a lovely move from the Alfa Romeo, and is already under pressure from both of the Aston Martins. There's a big move there from Dino down the inside of Ogiano at turn 27. Can't get the move done. Has to back out of it. He won't have to worry too much about Tom Robbo behind. He's going to dive into the pit lane and does so. Dino's going to try and get the move done again, maybe in towards turn number 1. He's having a little look. It's not going to be close enough, though. He has to back off for the time being. We'll stay in 8th position.
Yeah, Baraka on the back of Dinerco just in behind as well, P11 and 12, but an opening lap marred by a little bit of contact further down the field. Giel, though, leading the way. Isma there in second, Jensen third. Let's have a look at the position gains early on so far in this race. 5 positions gained for Valentin, up to 15th position from 20th on the grid. Kazizel is up from 19th to 16th, so he's gained 3 positions. Relatively a lot of gains further down the mid-pack as well. Yamaba gaining 2, majority drivers gaining 1 position at least. Most positions lost, of course. Tom Robbo, after that drive-through penalty, he's lost 10, and Michi and Davakin are also down 3 and 2. It's only Jensen and Modesta, the other 2, that have lost positions so far in this race. Gildo leading the way and holding a nice forte out in front of 7/10 of a second, holding a very nice gap. Isma there in second. Jordan, though, a lot quicker than Jensen, coming towards the end of the middle sector, now coming through 19, 20, and then through the right-hander of 21, and then through in towards 22 and 23. And it's such a long track that Jensen has got an advantage to try and pull away, but next time around, he might not be so lucky because Jordan is right on the back of him.
He really is. I'm riding on board with Jordan actually at the moment. To me, it looks like Jensen has a slower car in a straight line. He's pulling away at the moment, but that's because he is burning a lot of ERS to try and get to the back of the top 2. I think Jensen's got a very, very good car in the first part of the lap.
It's 3 wide in the background. Valentin down the inside line, and now Kazizel and Nathan go side by side. That was 3 wide in towards 26 and 27. Unbelievable stuff. And now Kazizel has got the inside run down in towards turn 1, and now Nathan will try and look into the slipstream as well. The Alpine tries to go all the way down the inside of the Mercedes. Doesn't work, but Kazizel is through, and he's actually gained 2 positions out of that. So Kazizel's through, and he's into 14. 3 wide, believe it or not, around Saudi Arabia. Who thought you could do that?
Who thought you could? No, exactly. That's exactly how 27 was designed. It's a massive opening for a tight exit, and Kazizel making the absolute best of that. That was a lovely, lovely move there from him. Further up the field as well, Isma was all over the back of Gil coming out of the last corner, but couldn't get anything done into turn 1, so he stays in second for the time being. And like I mentioned, that DRS queue is now starting to form. The first person outside of DRS range at the moment is Yakita on those medium tyres in 10th. He's struggling to keep up with the rocker in front as it stands, but those medium tyres will come to him as the race goes on, so we just have to keep an eye on that gap between the 2. And again, in this middle sector, Jordan is so much faster than Jensen in the middle part of the lap. Jordan just looks so much more comfortable at this point in the race. He's got a faster car in a straight line. Jensen can pull away a little bit in the first sector, but because he's got 2 cars directly in front of him, he can't go anywhere with it, and then he's just going to get swamped possibly by the Aston Martins. But look at them all grouping up for the lead of the race. Oh, Jensen! They actually grouped up so much it caught Jensen out. He actually broke too late for 27, had to miss the back of the Alfa Romeo, and that's Jordan an easy place up into 3rd, and here goes Isma for the lead. He's going to breeze past around the outside towards turn 1, and look at the power of the DRS. Nothing Gil can do, and Isma now leads the race.
Yeah, Isma now leads the race. Gil in second, but Jensen getting caught up by that mistake. He just overbroke himself in towards 27, as you mentioned, Aiden. And now Jensen down in 4th, and he's now got the other VSR one of use, who we know is quick, of course, and we know he's the PSGL F1 champion as well. I can report, and now used in 5th position, 2 tenths away from the back of Jensen. Jordan looking a little bit shaky coming through the right-hander there of turn 9 and then through turn 10. But used now on the back of Jensen, on the run down in towards turn 12. Of course, the DRS zone that never exists in real life. But still, Isma leading the way. Gil in second, Jordan in 3rd, and actually Isma beginning to pull away. It looks like he's got more of a straight line speed set up on that car, and he's pulled 6 tenths of a second away on Gil, which I've got to be surprised is not that shocking, to be honest, because given he's got clear air, now he can try and have the run. Obviously, down in towards turn 27 and hold and maintain that gap for the lead of the race. Use, though, on the back of Jensen. Jensen is so much slower in a straight line. I think we can now put that on as a given. And now Use now coming through 22 and 23, and now around the outside of 24, gets the move done. And Jensen again forcing for a mistake. Not sure if there's any damage possibly on that car, unless he's clipped his front wing somewhere on the first lap. Really doubts it, but Use now up to 4th, Jensen in 5th, and Jensen really struggling tonight.
Yeah, he's been buoyed a bit by his qualifying pace, hasn't he? He had a great qualifying, and in the race is just plummeting at the moment, unfortunately. Falling back through the field, yeah, just turned into turn 22 and nothing really happened, and he just ran wide of the apex, and lovely opportunistic move from Use around the outsiders. Oh, Gil's gone deep into turn 1. Gil went very deep into turn 1. He's cut across the inside of 2, and Jordan capitalises on that move, lovely. Jordan up into second place, then Gil a mistake all by himself, and just watch this Haas in the first sector. He has got a lot of understeer in that Haas in the first part of the lap. I think he's gone for the straight line speed, but because he's gone for the straight line speed, he's overheating his tyres with the lesser downforce in the first part of the lap, and he just cannot match the speed of the drivers around him. Those that qualified on the front row of the grid are just plummeting back through the field.
Yeah, definitely so, and obviously in the comment section I've just seen actually Dil Warren saying Jensen is running a low downforce setup as well, and that really struggles around a track like this. Obviously, we've got to have a high downforce setup. There is a yellow flag in Sector 1, it's Valentin that has gone off, coming through turn 8 and 9. The Vakin has also spun, in fact, coming through, and actually Mitchie and Devakin, sorry, are fighting out further down the field. Ismail leading the way, Used again on the back of Geel. Geel running a very low downforce setup, and now Used is going to try and outdo him. Up in towards turn 27. Modesto not too far off Jensen either, so we could see two moves here. And now Used on the back of Geel will pull out on the slipstream to try and get the move done. He's on the inside line, trying to get to 27. And actually, there's a move for the leaders. Jordan tries to go down the inside line. Used all the way around the outside of the final corner. Can he get the move done? It's very close indeed. And now Jensen, with his straight line speed, is going to try and have the run in towards someone, but he's got to watch out in behind because Modesto was coming at him quite literally. And now Used on the back of Jordan. It's all hell for leather. 2x2 they go in towards turn 1, and Geel and Used there coming through turn 2, and just goes straight on to Dino. Dino has gone straight on, picks up a 3-second penalty, and it's still side by side between Used and Geel. Somebody has to back out, and it's Geel. Used through, and he's into P3. Lovely move, that lovely battling, but Dino actually just running wide coming through turn 1 and 2 has now cost him a bit of advantage to Ogiano.
Yeah, a lot of drivers seem to be missing their braking zone for turn 1, and I think something that's catching these drivers out is that the DRS here is so powerful in those last two DRS zones after 24 and down towards turn 1. But actually they're having to back off of moves as Valentin retires in the pit lane after a bit of a horror show at the start of his race. They're actually going so fast in a straight line, it's catching them out, and they're having to back out of moves well before they do them, because then they get swamped down the next DRS straight, and it's just bunching the pack up and causing all of these problems to these drivers. They're either playing it too safe and getting multiplied by a driver behind, or they're not playing it safe and they're going aggressive, and they end up running into a battle that they weren't a part of 2 seconds ago. So yeah, a lot of these drivers are really struggling to find the balance at the moment, especially Geel and Jensen. They don't know whether they're coming or going at the moment.
Jordan down the inside line in towards turn 27 will get the move for the lead, and Jordan down the inside line. The VSR takes the lead of the race from the FER man, but now the FER man is going to cut back and try and get the DRS, of course, down in towards turn 1. The rear wing now open, 3/10 away. Is he going to try and have a go from that far back? He's not using up any ERS, and I think he's resigned to that position for now. So Isma there in second position, Geel right on the back again. Jensen very late on the brakes down in towards turn 1, and we saw coming through 22 and 23 as Yukita's going to get the move done on Danerko down in towards turns 1 and 2. So Yukita now 3, he's into 10th, and look at how guys now 3.5 seconds off the pace on the sort of medium compound side. Really not working out for those guys at the minute. Danerko still on the back though of Yukita and trying to fend them off is the Italian, but Modesto now on the back of Jensen. Once again, Jensen just getting caught in a little bit of a wash with Geel just in front of him, and you've got two low downforce setups now alongside of each other pretty much out on track, 4th and 5th, and Modesto you've got to feel sorry for at this point. He's got a high downforce setup on, he's looking a lot quicker than both of them.
Yeah, looking a lot quicker, like you say, especially in that first sector. He is climbing all over the back of that Ferrari. Look at that, through 17, he's basically pushing him through the corner, and then he gets to a straight, and he can't do anything. Look at him, he's on his ERS, trying to get past Jensen. Jensen is as well, and even with a slipstream, Jensen's pulling away in a straight line, but Modesto just can't do anything in the second half of the lap. He's just, I think at this point, hoping for a mistake from Geel or Jensen to let him through, or he's just going to have to go for an early pit stop and try and get some fresh air. Look at how close he is to the back of the Ferrari, but with ERS, DRS and a tow, can't gain anything. He's going to go for a late dive down the inside. Jensen leaves in the space on the inside of the corner. Modesto, can he get the run out of the corner? Not quite, and here comes Jensen around the outside with a better straight line speed, getting the run down towards turn number 1. Can he get the move done around the outside of the corner? They're still side by side. They're actually catching Geel in a straight line as well. Down the inside, Modesto's going to try and keep the move for the outside of turn 2. But there's no grip there, and Jensen holds on to the place, and yet again, the slow straight line speed for the Alfa Romeo driver keeping him behind.
Yeah, Modesto unlucky though, I think, to try and not get the move done on Jensen. Obviously, Jensen has got so much of a car. I'm right on board with him, actually. A good comment there in the comment section. Jensen looks like on the front wing and on the onboard, it doesn't look like he's got any front wing whatsoever. He does, luckily. There is the proof. He's on the outside now, coming in towards turn 12, just chasing down by Modesto, or just chased down, I should say, by Modesto. Ogiano and Dino are not too far off this either. A rocker for Team Mentalism and P9, trying to drag himself onto this queue. In terms of the penalty so far, by the way, 1 lap 8 out of 25. This race is flying over. 3 seconds worth of Dino, Yamaba, and Tom Robbo. Mitchie has got 16 seconds worth of time penalties. I don't know how on earth he has got 16 seconds. Certainly haven't been seeing them up at the top end of the screen unless it was on lap 1. Jordan, though, leading the way. Isma in second. And I think now Isma's going to come under pressure from Houston behind. The PSGL, the recently crowned PSGL F1 champion, of course. Now Modesto in behind, though, is going to get the move done on Jensen and around the outside in towards turn 26 and 27 as Mitchie now retires from the race for TTG. So TTG disappointed as Jensen throws his nose down the inside line on the Alfa Romeo. Can he get the move done? But the Alfa Romeo gets the traction and there's a little bit of lean on each other. Look at Ogiano in behind as well as now Modesto comes into pit lane. Not sure if that was an illegal cross. Isma now going for the lead of the race. Goodness me, it's all kicking off. Isma leads the way. Jordan in second. Houston third. Gil, Modesto and Dino all into the pit lane. Modesto's actually it's Isma has had a really bad run coming out of turn 2 and now Jordan is back through. He's into the lead of the race. Unbelievable what's going on. But now all the guys into the pit lane on a set of medium compound of tyres. And we saw obviously Gil come into the pit lane. Dino was outgunned Gil and Modesto. How on earth has that happened?
I just went on board with Modesto in the pit lane. I don't know what on earth happened there, but Gil's car came to a stop in the pit lane. He was in the middle of the pit lane, and of course the Haas pit lane is at the very end. He literally came into the pit lane, and the car just came to a stop and didn't move. So Gil was stuck in the pits, and Modesto was stuck behind him in the pits. He couldn't go through him. So Dino, of course, in the Red Bull, got his pit stop done before he caught those two, and by the time he'd come out of his pit box, they were moving again and hadn't made their stops. So Gil and Modesto really unlucky in the pit lane there, and they've fallen back out of contention. So that early pit stop in the end, called out by a glitch. So yeah, really not going their way.
Isma having a real bit of oversteer coming out of 22 and 23, and now Hughes is on the back of him, but Jordan just let him go. Isma now through and he's into the lead of the race. Jordan, I think, might be committed now to pit in and try and undercut, obviously, what happened with Gil and Modesto. But at 1.1 seconds off the back of Pandre, they've caught up very quick from being at a 2-second gap, and Isma jukes into the pit lane. So Isma into the pits. It's a very tight pit lane, of course, here at Jeddah. Denerco and Baraka look like they're going to go at it down in towards turn 1, and now the Spaniard closing in on Denerco just ahead. The TF10 man, of course, looks like the TF10 man is going to hang on down in towards turn number 1. Jordan leading the way, though. Houston second. VSL 1-2. Who would have expected that at this stage in the race? Jensen in third. Ogiano in fourth. Denerco fifth. Baraka in sixth. But where is Isma going to come out on this? Isma's a mile ahead. He is an absolute mile ahead of obviously Gil and Modesto, and now they've obviously gone on a Rocker, and a Rocker is pretty much side by side with them nearly, coming out of the pit lane. So Rocker now behind. Gil and Modesto both held up as a result of Gil obviously stopping in the pit lane. Not sure what happened on earth with them, but now Gil all the way down, and they're caught on a big old wash with the set of medium runners obviously ahead of them.
Yeah, I think what the problem was actually for Gil and Modesto was Mitchie had just retired in the pit lane, and they'd come to a stop, I think, just after where Mercedes' pit box was. So I think they must have been caught out maybe by that. And yeah, for Gil and Modesto, this is a disaster. They've got 3 cars in front of them, all not on the pace of these guys, that it's going to be difficult to overtake. We've already seen when you're in a train, it is difficult to overtake, and Gil and Modesto just can't find a way forwards at the moment. The 2 VSR drivers now swapping positions down towards 27. One of these guys has got to come in on this lap. I imagine it will probably be Juice in the lead of this race, I would say.
Pandre's down the inside line of 22. Sorry to cut you off, Aiden, but look at this, and behind Modesto, Nathan all literally 3 wide pretty much through 24 and 25. That is insane. Pandre through into 13, Gil through 14, Modesto 15. Nathan has just been done like an absolute kipper, and now Pandre puts the AlphaTauri down the inside of the Williams with Kazizel. Kazizel now trying to break the tail desperately. It's side by side, and if they're not careful, they're going to lean on each other here, Gil and Pandre down in towards someone, bit of wheel banging. And now Pandre's going to get the run. It's 3 wide and towards turn 1, and Gil outbreaks himself. But like Max Verstappen in real life, he gets the car stopped. Does he get the move done? Yes, just about. Gil is through. He's into 12th, and there's contact further down. Modesto and Kazizel caught up in an accident, and Kazizel lost his front wing. Modesto certainly got rear wing damage after going into the rear wall there of the turn 3 exit. But Jordan leading the way. Jensen second, Ogiano in third, and it's still green flag racing, which is unbelievable.
That looked like a Mazda MX-5 race. They were here, there, and everywhere, weren't they? They were all over the place. And yeah, Modesto there, that was almost identical to what happened to Perez in real life. He was sandwiched 3 wide between Pandre and Kazizel. When Kazizel couldn't back out of it, Modesto couldn't back out of it, and Pandre, I don't think, recognised they were 3 wide. So Modesto just got turned across the nose off the Shizuka car. So what was looking so good for Modesto was falling apart for him. Is this now advantage to OP in this race? Dino's still going. He's now ahead of Gil comfortably in this race. He does have a penalty, but he's got on-track position at least. And Nikita is still one of the leading medium runners that hasn't stopped yet. So unless Isma can pull out a win here and Modesto can somehow recover, it could be advantage OP once again.
It could be advantage OP, but I'm thinking in theory, Dino was 2.5 seconds off the back of Yamaba, catching all the time. Yamaba still has to come into the big lane. In theory, just off Isma and Dino alone, I think FVR are going to outdo OP in terms of the constructor sellings per second. Blame me if you will on that. Jordan, by the way, has got the move done through turn 3, and Yamaba, lovely move that from Jordan. He's through into 6th, and Yamaba just getting out of the way there slightly. Ogiano on the back of Tom Robbo as well. Tom Robbo, of course, on that sort of soft compound tight, still out there. Obviously, the cast for the goals from last week in America. Ogiano, though, on the back of Tom Robbo. But now, Ogiano trying to get the move done on the back of the Ferrari. And look at the run that he's got. Such an insane run coming out of 10. And now in towards turns 11 and 12. And Ogiano is going to get the move done, shooting down the inside line here. It's easy as you like. Ogiano through. And he's into 10th position. And Tom Robbo, I think, just trying to keep on going, of course. Jensen is in a net P4 at this stage as well. He's there on the back of Yamaba. And Tom Robbo, obviously, on that sort of soft compound attire, will be hoping to try and extend this in a little bit longer. And I think, honestly, above all hope, he's probably hoping for a safety car.
Yeah, I would say at this point in the race, he's hoping for some sort of safety car to bring him back into contention, like you say, because if he pits now, he comes out miles off the back of the field behind Modesto and ahead of Kazizel. So, yeah, it's going to be a long race for him if there isn't a safety car in this race. After all of that carnage and that crazy pit stop window, it's kind of shifted the order around. Isma's still the net leader with the 2 VSR drivers in close formation, and that's kind of how it's been. You've got to say these kind of 3 drivers, with Duncan in there as well when he races, have kind of been the star races this season. And then it's Jensen, Dino and Ogiano all of a sudden in the battle for 4th, when you've got to say they weren't looking the favourites for that battle either. So it's all shifted around. Tom Robbo finally into the pits off of those soft compound tyres, all really shifting around, and now we just wait for the medium runners that haven't pitted yet to come in. Baraka, the lead of those at the moment, having just got past Tedurko.
Yeah, Jensen now still in P8 on the back of Yamaba. He's caught 0.8 of a second, but now he's in that dirty wash, of course, of Yamaba's dirty air. And now the McLaren pretty much going to be like a rolling roadblock, as I can probably describe that. Tedurko back through, by the way, on Baraka for the lead of the race. We saw Baraka took the lead down in towards turn 1. And now Jensen on the back of Yamaba. Honestly, if he gets a bit of a high downforce setup going throughout this race, of course he can fiddle about with how the wing obviously feels in the car. Jensen has got Yamaba's number quite clearly here, I think, and I wouldn't be surprised if he even tries to get this move done even before the DRS zone. Look at how close he is to the back of Yamaba. Yamaba's on 12 lap old mediums, Jensen's on 1 lap old, and look at this, he's now going to go side by side through the fastest part of the track, coming through 19, 20 and 21, and Jensen has put my prediction completely and utterly right there. Jensen is through, and he's into 7th position, and now 1.2, 1.1 seconds off. Jordan obviously being helped by Used, and Used now going to try and catch Isma on the run down and towards turn 27, and Used on the back of Isma, not going to be for much longer, because now both VSR boys are going to take the lead of the race off him, and it's 3 wide coming through the final corner. Used takes the outside line, Jordan trying to go on the inner, and now will try and give the run from his teammate to try and get the lead of the race himself. And now Isma, right on the back of this, is going to try and think about who to take the double two on. Jordan, though, down the inside line. I think Isma's realised that he nearly goes into the back of Used down in towards turn 1. Jordan now in the lead of the race, Used in second, Isma in third. I think Dino and Jensen are fighting just in the background as well.
Yeah, Dino managed to get that move done on Jensen from kind of nowhere, really. That kind of came out of the blue, that did for Dino, but all of a sudden, Dino's now right in this battle for the lead of the race. If he can get within DRS zones, that would be massive for his race. And Jensen seemingly struggling in the first sector just to try and hold on to the back of the Red Bull a little bit. Isma was struggling for a bit of pace on these medium tyres. Those Aston Martins all over him, and that was a very well orchestrated move from the VSR drivers. They just burnt all their ERS and mugged the Alfa Romeo and gave him no opportunity to try and get back at him. So, yeah, VSR doing as they do. They're now 1-2, well, a net 1-2 in this race. With Isma third Used very close to the wall there was the Aston Martin. And now Dino and Jensen and Ogiano have all caught this queue as well. So it's now back to a 6-car queue for the lead.
6-car queue for the lead, and Gil 4.3 seconds in behind. He's got Dirt Clear out, of course, on track, and he's going to be hoping that Gil can obviously try and close in on the back of Orgiano. Yukita, by the way, taking Baraka for the race lead, so Yukita and Baraka renewing their battle, of course, from earlier on this season in PSGL, now taking the fight to each other. Orgiano and Jensen, though, side by side in towards turn 27, and Jensen has a bit of overcorrection, and Orgiano waltzes around the outside of him. Jensen made his own mistake, if I've got to be honest, and all of that. He's there into 7th position now, Orgiano, but will be 5th because the Frontier are in. Yukita and Baraka both into the pectin, going for a set of softs, and Isma down the inside of both the VSR man. Now Jordan and Isma, and Isma spins. Isma goes down the inside of Jordan. He didn't work it out. That was a bit too risky, I think, from the Spanish outfit. And now the FER man down in P6. Jordan now leading the way. Houston second, Dino in third. 5-car train for the lead. Isma down the inside line. I think he should have known better there.
Yeah, he really should. That was not worth it. That was not worth that move at all. And what that has done has put OP in an amazing position in this race now. Dino at net third. Yes, he does have a penalty, but he is now out of penalty range to Isma, so he would beat Isma on track. And Nikita came out of the pit lane ahead of Modesto. Modesto very unlucky with that glitch in the pit lane, but now it's advantage OP in their battle for second position. It was, after qualifying, it looked so easy for FDR, didn't it? They had such an advantage after qualifying against OP, but it all shifted around in this race. What did we say though? OP never strong in quali, always shine in the race and always come back strong in the race. They're doing exactly the same again today, and they're battling off the momentum of the FDR team.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. I think that's honestly why we've seen OP be 3 points ahead of FER coming in tonight. FER have had a much better second half of the season. I think we can both agree on that. Ikita, by the way, for OP, now going to get moved down on Pandre, right on the outside, in towards 26 and 27, so he gets the job done there. And Isma's been overtaken for the race lead, and Jordan and Houston now battling out for the race lead as well, out in front. But now Isma down on the inside line of Gil, trying to go down the inside line, and Isma's back through on Gil. Gil retook that position down in towards 26 and 27, but now Isma retakes the position, and he's back through and he's into P6. 4.5 seconds now they're behind. The DRS train really getting away in front. Jordan, though, and Hughes both in the lead of the race, first and second, and it seems to me, Aiden, that, obviously, they've already won the championship. Are we going to see a fight between the top two of the VSR boys? I think so.
I think so as well. It'd be good to see, wouldn't it? I mean, I think at this point they're just battling for pride as it stands as to who is the best VSR driver at the moment. I mean, this team has been so dominant this season, and fair play to them. Why not have a battle at the front of the field? Dino's got a penalty, and Dino can barely keep up at the moment, despite the fact that VSR drivers are battling with one another. And Orgiano and Jensen aren't in range to challenge them either. So if they're going to have an on-track battle, they may as well do it now. They're burning all of their ERS to try and have that battle. I worry that they end up using too much, but Dino doesn't have anything to counter with either. So, yeah, brilliant job so far for VSR, and I think they've actually just broken DRS, Dino. They have, so there you go. VSR have now cleared the DRS train around a track where it's almost impossible to do so, and now they can just start battling with one another, and here comes Orgiano.
Look at this!
Wow.
Orgiano, how quick was he there? Orgiano's through and he's into P3, caught me by surprise, goodness me! Dino now on the back of him. VSR going to go 1 and 2 once again. He's going to retake the lead from Jordan. Orgiano in third. It literally got to look like he shot out of a cannon. Quite literally. Orgiano there in third. Dino in fourth. That is just the power of the DRS running down in towards turn 1 and through 26 and 27. Donoco, by the way, is through on Gil, through and he's into 7th position. On a set of soft compound tyre, 2-lap old set of softs. Is there any way he can try and latch on? If he disposes of Isman now down in towards turn 12, can he dispose of him and then get 5.5 seconds to the back of Jensen? Obviously, these guys have battled, but now Doneco, fresh compound tyre, Isma's going to be sitting Doug down in towards turn 11 and 12, and he is going to get the move done. So Doneco for TF10, he might be Leo in disguise, but Doneco now through and he's into P6. Lovely stuff from Doneco. And now, on that sort of soft compound tyre, he can choose one or two things. Either drag Isma and Gil along with him, or leave them behind. And I think, honestly, how much he's committed through this middle sector, he's going to leave them behind.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does leave them behind. And we saw in the first part of this race that the medium runners at no point could keep up with the soft runners at the front, which suggests to me that the soft is the better race tyre. So I would suggest Doneco could catch this lead queue, especially if they do start battling. As they continue to do so, Jordan thinking about a move on Houston to 27, but not close enough. But Orgiano is now right with them. Orgiano's got such a fast car in a straight line, and And the fact that he had that ERS advantage over the Aston Martins, he blew it all in that lap to catch them. And now he's right on the back, so what could have been a VSR battle looks like it's going to be a three-way battle now. Ogiano, they're running side by side, blocking the road for Ogiano. Ogiano can't find a way through because the VSR drivers are running side by side and blocking the road for the drivers behind. Fair play to VSR, that is great defensive driving as a team, using 2 drivers instead of 1 to block the advances of Ogiano. That's brought Dino and Jensen back in, and Dunurko took half a second out of them in the first 2 corners.
Yeah, cheeky, but I like it. Honestly,
Yeah.
Jordan and Hughes have got a plan. They've got a long-term plan compared to what you normally see with teams in these Esports Cup events. We normally see short-term plans, but long-term plans, Jordan and Hughes wants this 1-2, and they want to try and fight themselves as well. Ogiano, I think it was a little bit of a misjudgment, if I've got to be honest, on the VSR boys. Ogiano was let too close underneath them, and I was expecting them to try and go down the middle, but Ogiano realised that the gap was through the middle, didn't want to go through right in towards turn 1 because that is just completely suicidal, and Jordan and Hughes just completely blocked the road, and obviously Ogiano was much more better than obviously both the VSR boys. He didn't want to go for that move, and he didn't want to put himself into a bit of a false sense, but looking in behind, Dino now catching back up, OP, 4th position. Remember though, Dino has got a 3-second penalty. Yamaba, Tom Robbo, Nathan, Pandre and Kazizel have all got penalties. We see Hughes take the lead now off Jordan once again, but once again, Ogiano on the back. I don't think he's as close as what he was last time around, but running down the straight, he is going to get a double toe. He'll take that off Hughes, and I think he's going to have a go there here, down in towards turn 1. Ogiano will try and send it down the inside on. The gap is there, but Hughes just parked that car effortlessly to the left-hand side of him, and now Hughes still in P2, Ogiano still in P3.
Yeah, running on board with Ogiano there, I think he was a little bit too cautious in that sense, actually. He broke, well, fairly early for a corner if he was going to go for an overtake, and was almost had to let off the brakes to make sure we didn't actually turn in too early for the corner. I think he could have been a little bit more aggressive, but maybe forced the issue there, and instead he's just let the Aston Martins hold the lead as it stands. By the way, look in the background, there's all of a sudden a McLaren coming at them. He's only 3 seconds back now, and he's actually dragging Isma and Gil with him. They're using a lot of DRS to do so, but they are just keeping within DRS range of the McLaren, and they are bringing themselves now back into contention in this race. And what this does is it puts, well, their lives on the line for OP, because it could drag Isma back into potential penalty range of Dino, and further down, Isma as well was only 1 place behind Nikita, so if anything goes wrong for one of these OP drivers, Modesto is still there to pounce. So it's going to be a really interesting end to this race. There's still 6 laps to go when we cross the line, and still the VSR drivers are running in formation.
But they're going to try and block the road on Ogiano running towards turn 27 this time, and this there Constantine is the field back up. Jensen, where was he came from in all of this as well? He's in 5th position, right on the back of the queue. Jordan could take the lead down and towards someone on the back of Hughes. We've got 6 laps to go. Unbelievable how we've had no VSCs or safety cars. This is turned on. Jordan leading the way. Houston second. Ogiano in 3rd, and there's a bit of a change in the line there from Hughes. Ogiano had to try and take a void, and actually he did. Didn't run into the back of him, luckily. Dino there in 4th, Jensen in 5th. But that's why McLaren in behind. The papaya coloured car of Dunurko for TF10 really beginning to fly. 2.5 seconds now off the back of Jensen, and now Dino around the outside of Ogiano. There's a bit of contact, and Ogiano into the wall. Ogiano into the wall, and that might be a safety car. Jordan leading the way, Houston second, Dino in 3rd, and that is a safety car. And I think, unfortunately, the speed he was going at, he couldn't really try and recover that. But the way he was going into the wall, possibly another thing to look at for the stewards.
Yeah, that did look a little bit weird, didn't it? I think he could have done more to keep that one out of the wall, but Ogiano, he did run into the back of Hughes, actually. I think he just miscalculated where the braking zone was and ran clean into the back of the Aston Martin. Damaged his front wing, not heavily, but ever so slightly, and the understeer that he got in the first part of the lap meant that Dino, well, kind of had to pass him, otherwise he was going to crash with him instead. So I don't think Dino did anything wrong in that situation. Ogiano obviously losing control of the car after a slight bit of contact, and then seemingly not doing enough to try and keep it out of the wall in the end, which is a shame to see. But safety car for the very end of the season. It's a very dramatic end. Where have we seen this before? It's a very dramatic end to a championship. Now, who can pounce? What this does is it brings, well, Isma back into play. It puts Dino at more risk. It brings Modesto back into play as well. So that battle for second is still going on with, well, Dunurko right in the middle of it on a fresh set of softs.
Yeah, I've got to be honest as well, Nikita, full apple set of soft compound tyre. Do not rule him out for OP. Modesto could be in there with a shout as well if you can get those mediums, of course, into play. And Jensen is into the pit lane. Geel is into the pit lane as well. Not sure if there's been a little bit of contact possibly between the both. We'll see if there's any front wing changes going to be happening. No, they're going into a set of soft compound tyre. Obviously, the race now is negated somewhat, and in terms of disadvantage to those drivers. Geel not in for front wing change either. So both of them now on a set of soft compound tyre. Geel is stopped in the pit lane but gets back out and he's ahead of Baraka, who are obviously still all coming in as well. Jordan leading the way though, Houston second, Dino and third. We are underneath safety car conditions, and I've got to be honest, I've been really disappointed. Obviously Nathan in qualifying on Tom Robbo, and now Ogiano once again. Final race of the season, you've still got to withhold the standards, no matter if it's the first race, no matter if it's the fifth race, no matter if it's the 10th race in the final round of the championship. Standards of driving, I think, have got to be withheld completely, and it just brings a bit of a shame, really, and a bit of a curtain over the race, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a bit of a shame, isn't it, to see two incidents like that. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, at least to Team Mentalism and Nathan in qualifying. I'm assuming that wasn't on purpose, it was more of a case of him losing the car through fire, but I'm sure there'll be some sort of Stewart's inquiry into that one. And yeah, that one with Ogiano was a little bit weird. It was a weird way to end a race for him. I mean, the race wasn't over. He still could have picked up points for the team, and that's kind of been Shizu's season, hasn't it? Great promise, and then not delivering on it, and that's exactly what's happened there. He had a great opportunity at a podium, possibly a chance at a race victory, and I was not going to score any points at all with Kazissel down in 15th as well and well out of the running. Shizu's season, you've got to say, for the pace that Shizu have had, the speed they've had all season, this has been a bit of a letdown for them, this championship.
It has been a bit of a letdown, but they have shown sparks of what they were formerly like, and of course, as a Shizu team. But lap 22 out of 25, I mean, Kazissel's down now in P15, obviously came in for a fresh set of soft compound tyre. And Timmy, by the way, in the comment section, I know you want a replay, I know you really do. We can't, however, because Michael Commentator is the lobby host, and I'm sure if he tries to stream, he will glitch out the lobby, therefore the lobby will be non-existent, as we saw with the end of qualifying, which is unfortunate. But we have kind of seen this before. Safety car out, lap 22 out of 25. Luckily, everyone is not going to be... Nobody has lapped, which is what I can report. So everyone is going to be under the safety car on the same lap, which I can report as well. And hopefully, there's going to be no race director interference here for the final 3 laps of the race.
Give us the opportunity to do that in the game, and I might go ham with it. You never know. I mean, that's just what Michael Massey does, isn't it? But yeah, it's going to be an interesting end to this race. Got to look out, obviously, Denurko and Nikita, Jensen as well. The Jensen pit stop to me is a little bit confusing. I understand why Gil went for it. He was a bit further down in the field. He'd obviously been disadvantaged by that earlier safety car, so he may as well give himself something to fight for at the end of this one. Jensen would have been 4th on the road. It would have been 3rd with Dino's penalty, and he's given up, 5 places of track position for a fresh set softs he's only going to be able to use for 3 laps. So he's going to have to make some interesting and brave moves in this race. And we've already seen that it's difficult to make a move stick here. So yeah, the Jensen move for a set of softs here is, to me, is a little bit of a bizarre move this late in the race. If it was maybe 7 or 8 laps to go when the safety car came in, I would understand it, but that is not the case. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised we saw Jensen into the pits.
Well, I mean, it could be like Stinson in the comments, actually, probably thinking that everyone is going to fall over each other in front and Jensen's probably going to win this race. Jensen magic, mate, is what he's put in the comment section, I can see there. Good to support your own driver. However, again, really unsure if that strategy is really going to work out for Jensen. He's got a wall of cars in front of him. Yes, he's going to be theoretically the quickest driver out on track, but DRS is not going to be enabled until the final lap of the race, so it's really negated somewhat, of course, with that DRS disadvantage that everyone is now going to have. Safety car, I believe, is going to be coming in this lap. I don't know when it's going to be spawned into coming into the pit lane. I would imagine coming out of 24 and then through 25. Jordan leading the way, Houston second, Dino and third, and as what he said, through 25, and now the safety car is back in this lap. So Jordan now the virtual safety car, he's the virtual Bert Marlander, and now we're about to get racing for what could be 3 laps of absolute carnage. Nobody knows what is going to happen here. This is Formula 1, unscripted as anything, and now we're about to get going for the PSGL Esports Cup finale. 3 laps ago. Jordan leading the way, Houston second, Dino in third. Denerko, of course, remember on that fresh set of soft competitors, and now Jordan looks like he's ready enough to try and go for the restart. Backs everyone up coming through the final corner, and now they go 2 by 2. It's a bit like an Assetto Corsa start. This coming down in towards 27, coming towards the line, and Houston and Jordan are going to have to try and leave this very late on indeed. There's a little bit of Constantine, like a bit like Magello, but now Jordan floors it. Now down in towards Dino on the back of Hughes. Denerko not too far. There's going to be carnage further down the field. The Red Bull diving down the inside line as Nikita on Modesto trying to get the move done. Everyone has somehow kept it clean through turn 1 and 2, and now Nikita's through and he's into 6th. What a move on the FBR, man. So Nikita through and he's into 6th. Modesto 7th, Jensen 8th. Everyone falling each other in behind. Baraka has got the move done. Yamava forcing the issue down the inside line into 4. Lovely stuff there from Baraka. Jordan leading the way. Houston second, Dino in third. But everyone caught up in that restart. A few 5-second penalties being picked up as well.
I've got to say that was a messy restart from VSR. Jordan went before 27 and then backed off, and then went again on the exit at 27 and then backed off again. I think Jordan really caused a mess at that safety car restart. He kind of went on the exit of the corner and then decided at the last minute he wasn't going to go and slowed down, and everybody, obviously it's a blind corner, you can't see through the corner whether they've gone or not. With the speed that Jordan was running, they've assumed he's gone and then come round the corner and seen the car stops in the middle of the road, which is why we had that 2x2 almost IndyCar style restart in the end, and it's caught far too many drivers out. I will not be surprised if that's investigated. That was a really, really messy restart for the VSR guys.
It was, but they have gained 7/10 of a second away on Dino, and Dino now is going to look behind him because Denerko is in behind on that sort of soft gun by the side. Jensen, by the way, got the move done around the outside of Modesto earlier on in the lap, and now he goes all the way around the outside of Ikita. Lovely stuff by the IFR man. He's into P6. Is Jensen magic on for the final 2 laps of the race? Do not count him out. Gil on the back of Ikita as well, running down side by side into towards turn 1, and now Gil could try and make it 3 wide to try and make the move done on Jensen as well. He sends it down the inside line. Denerko sends it on Dino as well. He gets the move done, and now Gila soon into 7. There's contact further down the field. Yamava out of the race. Pandre caught up in an instant, I think, with a rocker, and now Baraka got certainly caught up in that as well. But Jordan leading the way. Houston second. Denerko in third. TF10 looking like they've got Denerko now in a really prime spot. Dino has got a little bit of front wing damage, I think, or certainly a little bit of wear on those tyres. Ismarin behind as well. Dino's not going to be going anywhere. This is Denerko's chance to pounce.
Yeah, it's his chance to pounce. Here goes Jensen around the outside of 13. Can he get that move done? Oh, not quite on the exit of the corner. Isma slams the door in the face of the Ferrari and just holds on to the move. But that was a bold attempt from Jensen. It didn't quite work, but he's getting a little bit stuck now as everyone gets back into their rhythm. Nikita now with a time penalty. It's all falling apart really for OP, isn't it? FBR, while they're on much older tyres and got a little bit swamped, they don't have any penalties, so it could fall in their favour on the very last lap of this race. And Denerko now pushing the Aston Martins. He's really going for it against these VSR guys. The VSR guys have more ERS, but Denerko with the fresher tyres, he's going to have to get past one of the Astons as soon as possible so they can't do their DRS tricks. And look at that dive! Down the inside of 27, he's at least forced the issue. He's not going to be able to get the move done, but he could get down towards 1.
Yeah, Denerko on the back of Use. I think Jordan might have this run down in towards someone now. Denerko for TF10, trying to get the move done. Final lap of the race is about to be carnage as Denerko sends it down the inside line in towards someone. A bit of a change of the line there, but now tries to get the switchback out of 2, and now coming through 3. Use there in second, Denerko in third, and Jordan now beginning to pull away. Use can now act as a really good second driver to Jordan. Pull Denerko up and give him the race win. Jordan in the way. Use in second, Denerko in third. Giel in fourth. Jensen on the back of Dean has already picked up a penalty, by the way, Jensen. Don't know where he picked it up. I think it was on the final lap. The race is Jordan has picked up a penalty, and now that throws the race completely wide open. Dino made a mistake, and now Jensen on the inside line, down in towards turn 12, gets the move done. So the IFR man through and he's into 5th. Denerko still not entirely out of this race, but if he get used before the DRS line, he could have himself a chance of winning this race. Half a lap to go.
Half a lap to go. He's really gunning for it. It was a bit wide though, and now Gill's all over the back of them all of a sudden. He's right back into it, but he has a penalty as well. I think Juice might just have this one. He's getting help from his teammate. I don't think Denerko's close enough. It's going to have to be a mega run into 27 to try and win the race.
He will, and Danerko's going to try and close on the back of Yus. It looks like, though, it is going to be a VSR 1-2, but now Giel is going to attack Danerko himself, and the WR man is very close to the back of Danerko. Side by side, though, between them both VSR boys. Yus down the inside line of Jordan, gets the move done, and will take the race lead off him through the final corner. Jordan on the to the line. It's going to be a photo finish in behind Giel, and Jordan to the line, and Giel. Danerko gets second. Jensen picked up a 5-second penalty in the pit lane, so that's why he picked up an extra penalty. Yus leads Yus wins. Danerko in second. Isma third. Jordan in fourth. Kazizel picks up another 3-second penalty. What an ending that was. Danerko and Giel pretty much separated by millimetres as they came across the line, and it's Danerko in the end for second. And FVR have outscored OP provisionally. FVR takes second in the constructors' standings. Unbelievable.
I don't know what to say. I mean, considering the race that FVR have just had, they finished exactly where they qualified. That, I believe, at least anyway, that is so bizarre. That in the race where they at no point looked set in any position, they've ended up finishing exactly where they qualified. And they're the only teams to do that. That is such a bizarre finish to the end of that race. I think Jensen got his penalty at the safety car restart along with a few other drivers, so I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of those maybe get those penalties removed. But either way, that doesn't stop FVR beating OP, because OP's penalties, they got them before the safety car and they got them for track limits. So, yeah, even with the older tyres, FVR hung on, and with no penalties, it ended up benefiting them, and they will take second in the championship. Fair play to both of the teams. They put up a really, really good fight against one another, but the penalties in the end played in the favour of FVR.
Yeah, FVR certainly, in terms of how they've approached themselves, and especially with OP, two fantastic warrior of teams. Brilliant to see, and really good sportsmanship, I'm sure, in the comment section to come. But at the end of this race, it's all provisional, by the way. There's going to be a lot of changes. But what we can confirm with no confidence of a doubt, Yus has won. From Danerko in second, the Italian probably gets my drive of the day vote there in second from 12th on the grid. Isma there in third, Jordan in fourth, Modesto in fifth, Giel in sixth, Aroka in seventh, Dino in eighth, Tom Robo in ninth, Nikita ran off the top 10 with Jensen in 11th, Devakin in 12th, Pandre in 13th, ET8 actually showed quite strong in the final couple of laps, Nathan in 14th, Kazizel in 15th picks up the fastest lap of the race as well, Baraka in 16th, Yamaba did finish 2 laps down. I think he crashed out actually coming through on the safety car restart. So Yamaba out of the race there in 17th. Ogiano and Michi and Valentin all out of the race as well. Both TTG drivers not picking up any points for their team whatsoever. But Yus wins. Danerko second. Isma in third. What a race.
Yeah, what a brilliant race. It was a dramatic end, and thank God we got a dramatic end to the championship to round off what has been an amazing season for these drivers. It's been such a pleasure to commentate over this championship and watch all of these teams thrive. And I have to agree with you, before we ask me the question, I have to agree with you. Danerko, what a drive from him. He looked kind of nowhere, really, didn't he, in the first half of the race when he was on the mediums, but put on the soft compound tyres in the second stint, and my oh my, did he come alive on those soft compound tyres, fought his way to the front of the field. Even before the safety car, it would have been a really, really good finish for him, and he capitalised at the safety car restart as well. Brilliant, brilliant stuff from him. Nearly won. Not quite. The Aston Martin boys were too strong, as they have been all season long. And special mention to Tom Robbo. Ended up finishing inside the top 10 from a drive-through penalty at the very start of the race. I don't know where on earth that came from, and he slid completely under the radar.
Yeah, IFL, I think, quite unlucky in terms of their performances tonight. Jensen, of course, picking up a 5-second penalty into that safety car restart. Tom Robbo with that drive-through penalty. What could have it been for the R5 boys? But what could have it been for OP as well? OP, in the end, with penalties, Dino and Nikita picking them up and finishing outside, of course, of the FVR range for FVR, obviously, to re-overtake them. 4th-second position in terms of the constructors' standings. I'm sure it will all be confirmed, of course, at PSGL F1, if you do want to follow the league, of course, on Twitter. But that is unfortunately it. It feels like an end of an era, to be honest. It's certainly the end of the year here on PSGL. I'm sure there's probably going to be more races to come before the year is out. But I just want to take this opportunity to thank every single one of you for tuning in tonight, first and foremost, for every single one of you who have supported us throughout the season and supported the event throughout the season and supported your teams throughout the season as well. This event would have not happened, of course, if it wasn't for PSGL, if it wasn't for the kind generosity, of course, of VRT to put all of this together, bringing in, of course, 10 of the greatest teams in the F1 esports industry and it is fantastic to watch out for, and I'm sure you enjoyed every single moment of that race. And if you did, of course, you can like, comment, subscribe, take that notification bell, of course, if you are new. But for my personal thanks, I would have to say to Connor, McDonough, and of course to VRT Matthew, who obviously welcomed us with open arms in terms of this event. I didn't know what to expect. Coming in, my first stream on PSGL, of course, Tom Zagers, of course, doing the graphics as well. We have to give a big shout out to him. But I think, Aidan, all in all, it's been a very good season. I couldn't have spent it any better and any more time with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's been such a pleasure, hasn't it? I mean, coming into it, I didn't know what to expect even from the championship. I didn't know what these teams were going to provide in terms of racing, and it's been stunning from start to finish. Unfortunately, obviously not commentated over every single race, but it's been amazing to watch. It's been a really, really fun championship to commentate over as well. It's definitely been one of the most fun things I've commentated over personally as well. So thank you to PSGL for the opportunity to commentate over it. Thank you to them as well for setting up the championship. I hope to see another championship like this in the future for PSGL. It was really, really good fun. It's great to see the teams all battling one another. I think they're the best events in esports, is seeing the teams fight against each other like that. So, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed for more of this in the future. And of course, yeah, big shout out to Tom as well for Titi Honey Badger, as some of you may know him. Such an amazing job on graphics all season long. So he's the winning man behind the scenes for us.
He is indeed, and obviously Thord in terms of the graphics as well. He designed all of the graphics like you see in terms of the overlays, in terms of how this production has really been put on. Tom only does the hard work. He puts everything together in the background. We just sit here and commentate on what we love, of course, and that is Formula One. But fantastic to see, and what a race to end off here in Jeddah, of course. Driver of the day, I think, has been agreed already, is Danerco. So, that is it. And from myself and from Aidan, and I'm sure from Tom, and from everyone, of course, here at PSGL, we do wish you, of course, a very Merry Christmas and hopefully a very Happy New Year. Hopefully it is better, of course, 2022 than 2021 has been. But I think that is the end of tonight's live stream. But I have to do a little bit of self-promotion, of course, before we have to end. It is typical of a stream like me, obviously, doing the lead commentary. PSGL sign-ups are open for everyone on Sunday. So for Season 30, if you do want to get involved, of course, all the links are in the description below. The Discord invite is there if you do want to join what has been, I think, an absolutely unbelievable season. It obviously spans more than the F1 2021 Esports Cup event, as we've just seen. Got to commentate on PSGL F1 on Monday as well. If you didn't watch that back, go and watch it. But the Discord is there, the Twitter is there, the website is there if you do want to get involved with PSGL Season 30 and hopefully be commentated on by either myself or Aidan. Maybe not Tom. I don't think he's cut out for commentary these days, but I feel so bad. Sorry, Tom, in advance of that. But the Twitter, the Discord, and the website, all in the description below on this stream and on any other stream that you do watch here on the PSGL channel. So Season 30 sign-ups are open on Sunday. And if that's not much to whet your appetite, then I don't know what is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either, but yeah, I'm sure Season 30 is going to be... Season 30, wow, that's bizarre to say, isn't it? But yeah, Season 30, I'm sure is going to be absolutely amazing, and just got to echo the words of you as well. Happy Christmas to everybody. Hopefully everybody enjoys their Christmas before we probably go into an eventual lockdown, at least in the UK in January. We'll wait and see. So have a lovely Christmas, enjoy it, enjoy the new year as well, and fingers crossed 2022 is better than 2021 was.
Yeah, totally. I think we all echo those sentiments, of course, said by yourself, Aidan, and by everyone, I'm sure, in the comment section there as well. But that is the end for the PSGL F1 Esports Cup event. We really hope you've enjoyed the 10 rounds. Of course, if you do want to watch them on playback, maybe in front of your Christmas lunch, then do watch us, of course, afterwards. The playlist is all there for you to catch up on all of the action that you might have missed throughout the season if this was the first time tuning in to PSGL. But we're rambling on. We better end off the stream. Of course, I've been James Head. He's been Aidan Carter. Thank you so much for watching. And until next time, next year, goodbye.